I invite on stage Satyamit Raman, Director of Innovations, UAE Global, Rayad Hossain, CEO, Ultrasafe, Abed Ben Eshosh, CEO and co-founder, Open Innovation AI, Kuldeep Mirani, co-founder and CEO, Beyond Seed. And to moderate this particular panel, I request R. Sridharan, Editor, International TV9 Network, to join us here on the stage.
Okay, thank you, Sakshi. Thank you for that lovely introduction to all the speakers and to me. AI, I'm sure all of us are spending a lot of time thinking about this technology, how it's going to affect our lives. If you're fortunate enough, you're probably thinking about how can you leverage AI to create value for yourself, your organization, your company. But if you're not that fortunate, you're probably wondering, how can I leverage AI to remain employed? Because that's now going to be a big challenge. As they say, AI is not going to replace humans, but it's only going to replace humans who don't know how to use AI to stay in their jobs. But before I get into this a provocative theme which we've chosen, hype from reality, I just want a show of hands in this hall to figure out how many people think that AI is a lot of hype. Can I have a show of hands in the hall, please? How many of you believe AI is just hype? That's scary. Not one hand has gone up. Okay, so how many of you think AI is reality? Wow. Okay. So I think we'd better do a good job of, this. Let me start with, Kuldeep, you, because you're actually writing checks for these startups that claim to be making these wonderful AI applications that will change the world and maybe even do away with the need for human beings. Everything's going to be run by smart intelligence, which is AGI, ASI. We hear many buzzwords. So let me start with you. If you look at the amount of money that people are raising in the name of AI, how do you view it? Is it the fear of missing out in terms of, okay, I need to get my foot in the door before something big overtakes me, explodes, and I am not on the train? Is that the sense? Or there's genuinely a case for such mega bucks going into AI?
Thanks, Sri. Thanks for having me on the panel, and thanks TV9 for this lovely initiative. Can I come back to the point, is AI really a hype? And I think I can answer that in two parts and covering the point which you need me to answer. AI is a reality, but so is the noise. When we hear some large investment bank come and say that AI is going to take away 300 million jobs over the next decade, not required. I'm a digital immigrant, and I think so many of us in the room are. When I finished my studies, I was told that whatever I studied for 20 years is going to be irrelevant. On the contrary, we believe that the job quality which we had post the digital revolution was better, and the number of jobs were more.
Right.
So I agree with you, Shri, that AI is not going to take away the jobs. The people who practice AI will take away the jobs from people who don't. So we need to embrace it. And the second part to it, from the perspective of an investor, I don't believe we are in an AI revolution. I think we are in an AI illusion. Every startup wants to add AI to their name, and they believe they are going to increase the valuation, but nobody's talking about value. I would sincerely urge the audience who are investors to invest into business, not into the buzz, to the founders, to build substance and not slides, and to the policymakers to provide that ecosystem where you can defend the innovation and instill responsibility. In summary, there was a phase where investors thought, I will miss the bus, the FOMO. I believe we are past that, and everybody is looking for substance.
Fantastic. Right. Ultrasafe is a company that's actually building something, an LLM, that too, for the Indian market, without raising any significant money from external VCs or angels. So tell us, why did you choose to do this path? And how do you think you're going to be different compared to a whole lot of other LLMs that are already there? There are a lot of Indian companies working on Indic LLMs, SLMs. So how do you think you're going to be different, and what is the objective that you are chasing?
Thank you, and thank you all in the audience for listening and attending. It's a privilege to be able to speak in front of all of you. You know, I come from the Silicon Valley, and so I had built and exited companies, and I had built an institutional firm. And the one thing that I've seen the most of is concentration of power. And so effectively what we saw happen in search, social, and mobile, where very large access to data and data moats create monopolistic businesses, is happening right in front of us with regards to AI. When we think of large language models that exist today, whether it's Llama that's owned by Meta, or Anthropic that is effectively Amazon, or OpenAI, which is effectively Microsoft, or DeepSeek, which is now the Republic of China, it's quite scary to think that that data moat is informing model weights. And the one thing people are overlooking when it comes to AI is the power of model weights. I'm not sure how many people in the room know this, but AI in itself was a mistake. A machine learning engineer left their machine on for too long, well outside of the training window that machine learning algorithms are trained within. And when they got back to their machine, they saw that the machine was able to make sense of things in a way that it was never able to make sense of before.
Is this a pre-GPT era story, or is it post-GPT?
This is as neural nets were coming to market. And so once that was discovered, the innovation curve accelerated quite a bit. And so that's why AI models are continuously benchmarking. They have to run benchmarks because nobody knows why the AI actually performs. They only know after the fact that they do perform. Now imagine that you're a large sovereign nation like India, or a very large enterprise that has spent decades and decades collecting data to uniquely differentiate yourself in the market. If all of that data is training LLMs that are owned by the major conglomerates in the world, you are putting yourself at risk in a very meaningful way. So we took a little bit of a different approach. We said, well, what if we can democratize the concentration of power? And what if we could give nation states and very large enterprises the opportunity to participate in that power capture? That's probably a much better outcome for humanity, because what we're seeing in AI enables things that we've never seen before. Mm-hmm. And that's our perspective.
And how is Ultrasafe solving a specific problem that's for the Indian market?
So the engineers and technical talent at Ultrasafe actually started building this technology starting 2017. Mm-hmm. And in this fortuitous way, they found that they had built a large language model as that innovation curve was accelerating. So what we do is we quite literally empower very large enterprises and nation states to have their own AI, where we deploy large language models on their premises, where they're the beneficiary of their data, and they can actually control the perspective that is fed rather than being restricted to the perspective that large language models and the bias that they already have.
Right, okay. So Satya, you are not building anything, but you're buying AI companies. So what sort of companies are you buying, and why?
So we have invested in a few AI companies. Early AI is one of them, where we build consultants, AI consultants that helps SAP companies to do consultancy, do implementations, and those helps. Recently, we are in the process of acquiring another AI company, Ved AI, which is a medical record keeping and helping patients and diagnosis and overall. It's a US-based company which we are working on. But right now, see, you guys have to understand why there is this so much of hype. $50 billion every year is being invested into IT companies. And it's such a sad thing. 60 to 70% of that money is going on into flashy AI ads, which is not a real use case, which is not a real thing, which is actually a hype which we were discussing before as well. So I was in Intersect before a few months in World Trade Center, and this is what I was talking there as well. I mean, AI has to be very much in progress to work with human intelligence. Right now, if we let alone the machines to learn and do things, as rightly mentioned, it's going to be completely captivated by those big machines. They are going to use it for their own benefits only. So we have seen recently Boeing 787. I mean, what happened there? I mean, it's all because we have left all on machines to spark out some signals. Then only we're going to check something. Human interventions was missing. This is the path, dangerous path, which we are moving to. So I always say, I mean, be very cautious, be very careful in working with AIs. I mean, just we are building models and you're letting alone the machines to learn on its own. So as more as human intervention you have, as more as human intelligence at this stage of time you guys bring in, AI future is going to be more promising. So each one of us, who investing into AI companies, who are building AI companies, have to be very, very careful to stay away from those flashy slogans who just aim to get investments and not for real world work.
True. So to Satya's point, DeepSeek, Chinese DeepSeek, it came in and well, there's controversy on how much did they really spend, but let's say they spend only $5 million as they claim. Is the AI innovation itself now becoming more efficient? We saw that earlier you needed massive compute power. There's a tremendous amount of data training that you need to invest in. Then you have to build, the models that were efficient for you to be able to manage, let's say, 7 billion, 70 billion kind of data that's going into, these models. Now there's a focus on inference. So from a VC perspective, Kuldeep, are you looking more at the application end? Are you still looking at the foundation? Where do you think the most utility will emerge for people who are in this audience? I think it will be on the application front, because ultimately people need to do something with AI, right? I mean, it can't be a magical black box that only Sam Altman and a bunch of other people know what it's going to do, but it doesn't seem to be doing, right? So what's your view on that?
Actually, I think there is a concept we all know, early more advantage. And then there is a concept of last more advantage. So as things have progressed, a lot of companies who are coming into developing AI models are doing it more efficiently than the ones which have done earlier. Both have their advantages. As an investor, we are definitely focused on where is the signal and where is the echo. And the idea is to focus on the signal and back that signal to make sure that we're building something or we are helping them to build something which is of relevance. Not just for a particular purpose, but overall, and not just for a particular place, but globally. That's been more of our focus as investors. And I think, again, the thesis can change as we move gradually. Things are evolving very fast, and we need to also evolve.
Right. So now, right, I think that also leads to a very important question, which is in terms of, we earlier used to talk about digital divide. Now we're looking at an AI divide. It's not just at the level of countries, but it's also going to be the level of people, like actual users, even literate people, English-speaking people. There'll be many who are AI literate, others who aren't. And I think one of the challenges is for nations where English is not the principal language, it's not the native tongue. For example, let's say UAE or even India, where we have many local languages. So I think the focus needs to really be on building products, AI products, that can solve real problems of real people. Okay, I mean, it's great to get some nice images done, some short videos done, or maybe write some content which sounds heartless, soulless. What is, I think, the focus? Do you think there's enough incentive for AI companies right now to make that sort of investment? And what are the areas, for example, healthcare or education? They are very, very important areas. Do you see any kind of traction happening in UAE and in India on that front?
I think with any transformative technology, what we see is that it grows faster than anyone expects, and it dominates everyone's lived experience eventually. And I think what we're seeing in AI is the acceleration of that faster than we've ever seen before. I wish I had a good answer to how do you address the divide that's being created as a result of AI on humanity. I think about this quite a bit because I see in our implementations call centers reducing their staff from 1,000 people to 20 people because voice agents are so powerful and they're so strong. I see it happening with designers and content writers that may have trained for a decade to develop their skill set now being replaced with models that can effectively generate the same result.
Doctors are running for their life now.
Truly, it's dramatic and it's happening fast. And I also think that there's other transformative technologies that are right around the corner. For example, brain-computer interfaces in a few years will be prevalent. We'll have a small percentage of the population with it, and then many people will. So we will be connected to technology in a way, the way that we're now connected to our smartphones, but instead it's going to be in our brain. Quantum computers are right around the corner, enabling processing and computation in a dramatically more transformative way than what classical computers are able to do today. So to think about what the world looks like in 5 to 10 years with a convergence of all of these technologies makes me feel as if the divide is only going to accelerate and it's going to be more dramatic than anything we've seen before. And so the question becomes, how do you empower people so that they can survive in that type of environment and thrive in that type of environment? And I don't think anyone has a good answer to that today.
Right. So Satya, that's not a very reassuring statement from someone who's building an AI model that, no one knows how to answer this question. But, to the audience that's gathered here today with us, how would you suggest they approach this AI black box? I mean, if you're a company, if you're a mid-level manager or you're a CEO, how should you be actually looking at AI? Should you start with certain small pilots, experiment, and then scale it up? What would you recommend?
It's very simple it looks difficult, but we have to learn to ask the right question. Just with AI as well. And look at the responses you get and ask another question. So the kind of iterations you're going to get, you're going to understand where it is taking you. So that should be a right approach for anyone who is new. Actually, no one is new now. Everyone is using ChatGPT for their emails. Everyone is using for small and medium interventions. So, but
everyone who knows English.
Huh?
Everyone who knows English is using it.
Right now, with the new Google thing, it just speaks in your language. Whichever language you try to talk to, it talks to you in that language and explains to you the benefits.
It also depends on
effects.
what data you're trained on. So
yes,
we don't have data
and above all, it's getting trained on you. More than that, the kind of questions you ask, you have to be very careful because the AI is getting trained on you. So it's very simple and it's very important. We have to know. Ask the right questions and re-ask and re-improvise because that's how you train AI as well. That's how you train yourself, how AI is working. That's how you train AI about you to become a next version of yourself, right. And best version of yourself.
I'd want both of you to weigh in on this question because that's probably the most important and relevant question for this audience. Like, how should they, approach AI in their own organizations, in their own lives? What should they do? Start with some projects, scale them up, or get some external experts, invest in training the human capital that they have in the company. So, Kuldeep, why don't you start, and then maybe, Rai, you can jump in as well. Yeah.
As we said at the start, we need to embrace AI. It's not possible for us to be away from it. I don't envisage a situation where none of us are sitting here and only our best avatar, they are sitting here and doing the
Next summit, we are doing it with digital avatars only. I'm going to be back in Delhi, sipping coffee, and my digital avatar is going to have this conversation with you.
With my digital avatar.
Yes.
I don't envisage that happening so fast. Having said that, depending on what each one of us we are doing, we have to figure out how will AI help us to do that better. I'm not suggesting to embrace AI to let go some of the team members. It's rather embracing of doing things better, faster. That could be a good start. And again, if we are in a company which is in a tech company, how do we bring in AI to start the development process? How do we train the AI to make it better? How do we train the AI to get the best results out of it? But all of that will depend on the type of company and the type of enterprise we are running. Staying away from it is not an option.
Absolutely. Yes, that's a given. So, right, your thoughts?
I think for any business owner or business person or executive, there's really two specific areas that this technology is particularly transformative. The first is cost optimization. You can do things with a lot less as a result of the nature of the technology, and I think that's the obvious use case. And then there's also new revenue generation opportunities, being able to go to market with unique products and offerings built on the base of what you have in a way that would have otherwise been untenable, because what you could have taken 10 years to do before, you can now do in 1 year. And I very much agree with the perspective here that you can't run from it. Running from it just means that it's going to eat you. Absolutely.
That's right. So I'm going to request my panelists to have a conversation with our delegates who are there over coffee or tea. So please do take some time to have a conversation with them. With that, I think we are running out of time on this panel. So thank you very much, gentlemen, for sharing your thoughts on AI.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. With that, I'll hand it back to Sakshi.
And I'll request